Welcome to another episode of How I Discovered My Gift with yours truly, David D. Simons. I'm excited. My excited is excited to have my brother here on the show, Kris Trinity. In a world teeming with aesthetic professionals, Kris Trinity has emerged as a beacon for those eager to transition from mere practice to prolific entrepreneurship. As the founder of the Aesthetic Marketing Institute, Kris's unwavering vision is clear: empower aesthetic clinic and med spa owners across the globe to amplify their clientele, skyrocket their sales, and evolve into top-tier business operators within their niche. Kris' roots run deep in this space, having partnered with 3D Aesthetics, the UK's largest aesthetic device manufacturer. Kris has cemented and earned a reputation not just as a business coach, but as a trusted ally to brands looking to evaluate their market presence. He doesn't merely talk the talk, as you guys will learn. He's personally navigated the trenches, chalking up transformative success stories. Over 500 clinics doubling sales. We can't gloss over that number. Over 500 clinics doubling sales, venturing into expansive premises and automating their business operations. What also sets Kris apart is that he's not just a vast reservoir of industry-specific knowledge or his ability to discern market trends. At the core, it's his genuine commitment to the personal growth and success of each practitioner, the businesses he mentors, and every coaching session with Kris just isn't a business transaction. It's a promise, a partnership, a blueprint for success. And I got to tell y'all, this brother's a good brother, man. He is excellent in his craft. I got to see behind the scenes just how he does things, moves things, does things in detail and excellence, how he serves his clients and how he serves the community that he serves. And his business is growing leaps and bounds. And I'm just honored to have him on the show today. That's why we wanted to have him on the show. He'd be a great example for those of you looking to grow, scale, build your business. So my brother, Kris, welcome to the show.
My gosh, what an introduction. Thank you so much, man. I really, really thank you from the bottom of my heart. That is so kind of you to say all of that. So much appreciated, brother. Thank you.
No doubt, bro. No doubt. Absolute, man. Let's dive in, bro. I want you to take us back, man, from childhood, man. What when you were the journey, right? Start with me from a childhood, becoming who you are today. Take me through that. What's it like growing up and all that?
Man, okay, cool. So first of all, I just want to say it really is a privilege and an honor to be here. I know that this is what we're talking about here. How I discovered my gift is like a really, really important subject, right? And it is all about an individual's journey and a transformation along that journey, right? So I probably in terms of as far as entrepreneurship goes, I think probably my earliest memory of this was we used to play a game in the playground, right? So, we call it soccer over here. You guys call it football, right?
Right.
You guys call it, sorry, you guys call it soccer. We call it football, right? So probably my earliest memory as, when I was younger is we used to play this game called pat ball, right? Against the wall, right? Where you've got you've got a small ball, you throw it against the wall, and then you play against another team. So
Right.
me and my Cody, my best friend in school, we used to hustle other students in our classes, right, and the different classes out of money, right. It's kind of like if you've ever watched the film White Men Can't Jump, it was kind of like that, right.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of like my earliest memory, right? So I said to my best friend at the time, I said, why don't we do this for money, right? And it was small money, it was pennies and stuff like that, right? But we did that, and it was that was probably like my earliest memory of entrepreneurship. But to take it even back a little bit further is my mum, right? So my mum growing up, she did everything. Okay, when I say everything, she did everything, right? So my mum, I remember growing up, my mum used to make cakes for the local church that we used to go to and sell them. My mum used to make curtains. She used to do silk paintings, right? She, she learned at one time how to use use a computer when computers, first came out, right? Who knew that 30 years ago, people didn't have computers in their house, right? So she
Right.
was doing admin for stuff like that, for people like that on computers. So my mum was she was a bona fide hustler. Everything she could do and
Wow.
she could get her hands on, she would do. And so, I used to remember like going to sleep at night and my mom would be in the front room and like we didn't have a very big, place to stay, right? We had like an apartment, right? And she basically used to lay these fabrics and stuff out on the floor, right, at nighttime. And when I used to wake up in the morning to go to school, right, these fabrics would be all formulated and made into like curtains. So she used to like, work all night, like putting these, curtains together. And I think really that her work ethic is really kind of what inspired me to become an entrepreneur and to work for myself. So that's a really really been a big part of my journey is just seeing somebody else with hustle and work ethic and just doing everything she can to provide for her family and to make stuff happen is really kind of where that comes from within me.
Wow.
So
Shout
I
out
hope
to
that kind of answers the question a little bit.
That's beautiful, man. It's in the blood, man. That's beautiful. So tell me, like when you started to witness this in your mom, and you saw opportunity. Like when you think about it, what's your most dominant gift?
It's a great question. So if you asked me this question 20 years ago, I wouldn't have said what I'm going to say right now.
Hmm.
And I think that my most dominant gift is communication. And I think it's the
Hmm.
art of communication.
Hmm.
So I've worked in sales for a very, very long. When I was a teenager, right, I was really, really shy. So I was really shy, and like I used to wait for girls to come and talk to me before I would go and talk to girls, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, and even when they talked to me, I didn't know what to say, right? So, but I worked in sales for a long time, and I mean, I'm still in sales today, right? So
Right.
running your own business, you're still in sales. You're selling, selling things to people all the time. Whether I'm selling my team members on like a new project, a new venture, or whether I'm selling someone that I'm hiring and recruiting into the role, or whether I'm selling to a client, right? You're always selling. So I think at the moment, probably my most dominant gift, the thing that came to mind first, is probably communication. And the
Mm.
thing with communication, right, is communication is always two ways. It's not always what I'm saying to somebody else and how that impacts them, but it's also listening to somebody else as well, right? And listening twice as much as you talk, right? So
Right.
you know the old adage goes, right, is that God gave you two ears and one mouth, so listen twice as much as you talk. So I
Right.
feel like communication is my strongest trait, and I think any successful entrepreneur or business owner has to master the art of communication. You have to master the art of listening to somebody else and understanding what their challenges are or their limitations, and then effectively communicating a solution to those limitations or to those challenges.
Respect, bro. Respect. So I love how you preface this with, you know this now, but you may not have known this earlier.
Hmm.
So tell me about, as you're going through the process, right, of becoming who you are today, what signs did you see going back, connecting the dots now? Where did you see this gift of communication and operation, and operating, but you maybe didn't know that this was your dominant key gift?
Sure. Okay. Could you ask that again, please? Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So, where did you see this gift of communication in operation? Maybe in your childhood, maybe in other things and ventures. Maybe you saw the skill because you now recognize it, but you didn't recognize it while you were going through it. Where are points in your childhood or younger years where you saw this gifting?
So I really do think it came from the workplace. Okay. And probably one of my first mentors that I worked with is a very, very successful black entrepreneur, right? His name is Peter Murray. Okay. He has a very white English middle class name, right? But he's actually Jamaican. Okay. And so when I started working with him, I'll keep it real. I was a kid that came from the streets, right? And when I started working for him, I don't know what he saw in me at the time, right? Maybe it's my tenacity or eagerness to learn new things, right? but he really mentored me and brought me in. And one of the things that he taught me is tone and register, and like basically listening to other people and being able to mirror their tone and how they communicate with you, and being able to basically give it back to him. And I really do think that that's probably one of the biggest things that I've learned along my journey, is is basically listening to people and being able to mirror how they speak and communicate with you back to
Mm,
them as well. I can't emphasize enough how important that is, right?
mm,
Because for anybody to be successful, I think in probably any venture in life, right, whether it's entrepreneurship or that whether they want to get promotions and stuff at work, right, communicating and speaking to other people and understanding how they communicate with you, and the best and most effective method to communicate with them is like unbelievably important. So,
right.
for anyone out there, I would advise anyone out there, right, if they want to improve their communication, they need to look at things like, tone and register, and think about how, if somebody speaks to you in a certain way, how can you mirror that person, right? So that so that you're kind of on the same wavelength in terms of communication, right? Like, for
Yeah.
example, the people that I grew up with in my neighborhood, right? When I meet up with them, the way that I talk and communicate with them is completely different to if I'm sitting in a boardroom with somebody whose net worth is $50 million, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Makes perfect
So
sense.
that is really the key thing, is understanding tone and register, and making sure that the way you communicate with people is not carried through in kind of like one way, but you communicate with different people on the different levels that they're at.
That's beautiful, man. Wow, that's gold advice you're giving to the audience. So this gift, you obviously honed in on it, right? You had mentors, you developed yourself, and I don't think a lot of people realize, right, to build the business that you've built, the success you've had for yourself and for your clients. um, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes of like development, right? And so what kind of development have you over the years, through your journey, poured into yourself, uh, into your mind, into your skills, into your ability to speak, ability to sell? And you're also a world-renowned speaker. You're not saying that, you didn't mention that, and you didn't bring that up in your bio, but you're also an in-demand speaker. So what what have you done behind the scenes to develop yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, this is a great question. And, you and I met at a, well, not a mastermind, but a conference, right? Last
Right.
year.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So, like, I'll tell you very, like, very, very bluntly, okay? I invest as much money as I can into developing my professional skills, right? So, like, I'm not the person, yeah, I like to have nice things, and I like to wear nice clothes, I like to drive, a nice car and stuff like that.
Right.
But I would always prioritize, and this is like, this is a never ending journey. Like, there's no kind of final destination on this journey of personal development, right? And investing in mentors. Okay.
Mhm.
This is something that I've always done. I'd rather
Mhm.
spend money going to a conference, networking with people like you, David, right? Yeah, than, having the latest. Okay. I would always much rather invest in myself, because ultimately, the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. All right.
True.
So, the way what I've done over the years is I spend anywhere from around about $10,000 to $15,000 a year
Yep.
going to conferences, investing in mentors, investing in coaches and different things like that, so that
Right.
I can then pour back into my business. Yeah. And that's what I do. And again, there's another thing, right, that I would say to everyone out there, anyone who's listening to this, okay, you have to pour back into yourself consistently. I think on
Mhm.
a day-to-day basis, right, we give so much of ourselves to other people, right? If we're entrepreneurs, especially, let's just say we've got families, and we've got a wife, and we've got children, and we've got loved ones, and close network of friends, and all the rest of that stuff. Sometimes we pour so much into other people, we don't take enough time to pour back into ourselves. And I
True.
have to say that that is like one of the key things, and one of the things that has you know, brought me to where I am today with my business. Like, we do very, very well. You know, we have 9 employees, right? So, that's one of the key things that's helped me to grow this business, is to basically pour back into myself, because when I pour back into myself, I have more to give to others.
That's gold, man. Do you remember your first investment into yourself? It probably was younger. I'm thinking that you got a hold of. Not everybody gets into this mindset, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
the of investing in themselves. Do you remember your first, either your very first or something that really stretched you to yeah? Tell us about that.
Yes, I'll tell you a story, right, real quick. So where I was living and where I grew up, right, when I got to about I think about 20 years old, yeah, I'll keep it real with you. I was quite lost, man. I was
Mhm.
lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my future. All of my friends had gone off and gone to, college, right? They were all going off and studying. And I wasn't going to college, right? And I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to college. And then my partner at the time, my girlfriend, she got pregnant. And so, there was a lot of stuff that was happening at that time, okay? And I have to say that I was very, very fortunate. We had this neighbor who used to live next door to us, right? This lady called Jenny. And I think that she could obviously see, that I was like struggling, right? And, maybe I was like going down kind of a wrong path. And I never forget, one day she said to me, "Hey Chris, I've been thinking about you and I've got something for you." And she gave me this book, right? And there's a book by Tony Robbins, and the book was called A Letter from a Friend. And I'll never forget, right? And I wasn't really like studious like that, like into reading books and stuff like that. I'll never forget, like I was on a bus, and I opened this book and I read the first page, and like I was just absolutely hooked. I was just like, oh
Wow.
my god, this like it just the book, just even the first page, it just connected so much with me, right? So I think my first investment in myself is after I read that book, and I read it in about 2 days, right? After I read that book, I went and bought everything by Tony Robbins, and then I asked her, like, what else she would recommend, and she said Dale Carnegie. So I went and got all the Dale Carnegie books at the time that I could get my hands on, right? So those were really kind of like the first investments in myself. And as far as like when I transitioned from being an employee, right, to becoming an entrepreneur, right, I'll never forget, right. So I was working a really 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 good job. Yeah, I was working in sales. I was very very senior in my role. I was getting paid a lot of money, and I took the leap of faith, right, to start working for myself. And I'll never forget, right, that there was this there was this webinar, right, by this guy called Dan Henry. I think you,
Oh
you,
yeah,
you know Dan,
yeah.
right? There's this webinar by Dan Henry, right? And he was selling this course for like $1,000, okay, at
Facebook
the
ads
time.
for entrepreneurs, right?
FAFB, right? Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. FAFE, right? Yes, that's
right.
right. Yeah, yeah. Man, David, do you know how
Yeah.
many times do you know how many times I watched this webinar before I pulled the trigger on buying it,
No
dude?
way. Oh, this is so amazing.
Dude, I sat down, right? It's $1,000. And obviously, like I bought books and other things like that before, but I've never invested in an online course. Dude, I sat down and watched this webinar about 10 times, man. And I was like, God, like, and then on my birthday that year, right? I was like, right, just do it. And I pulled the trigger on it. And that has been like that $1,000 course, right? And like, man, trust me, I did everything that was in it, right? I was like, right, I have to make sure I make a return on this. That's the best investment I've made thus far, right? Because that's really set me on my journey. But I invest in online courses, coaching programs, and different things like that all the time, right? Like all the time, I'm always investing in. I'm always looking at what's next. So I think really, the way that I invest in stuff now is more focused on like where I'm at in my journey. Okay. So I'll give you an example of this, right? Last year, I was scaling my team up quite quickly, and I realized that I didn't have the skill set or the kind of qualifications, like when I say qualifications, I don't mean like formal qualifications. I'm talking like, I didn't have the skills, right, to properly manage that team, yeah, at the time. So what did I do? I was like, right, what's the solution for this, right? And when I think about, what's the solution for something, I'm always like, who's the person that can help me get this done the quickest? So I found a coach who basically helps with like, managing a small team, putting KPIs in place, targets, and how to effectively communicate as a team to make sure that nobody's dropping the ball. And
Yeah.
that was absolutely fantastic, right? So I tend to invest in things every year, like coaches or courses or whatever it is, on what I'm going through at that time and what I'm trying to implement within the business. But
Beautiful.
those are some of my earliest investments that kind of bring me up to today. And as I
Okay.
said, I'll spend between $10,000 to $15,000 a year on like coaching and mentorship and different things like that.
Beautiful, man. Wow. I think it's just a testament to that's how you get to these next levels. And I think some people just don't really they think it's a gimmick that people are just saying, oh no, they're saying that to buy their program or buy their course. But like the reality is that no, it's a cheat code. It's gonna give you access to get to where you want to get to faster. So so tell us about Aesthetics Marketing Institute, man, and so you kind of talked about it in the transition, right? And I want you to talk about the transition because we do have people that listen to the show that are leaving from that 9 to 5 and going into the company. So tell us about the transition, and then tell us more about the company.
Yeah, sure. So, I have to say, right, and I'm not really like I'm I'm a person, okay, that I don't generally tend to move very quickly on things, okay, right? So like I can see things, right, and I can say I think that's a fantastic opportunity, but I move very cautiously and very slowly, okay, on most things. So when I started working for myself, I saw that content, right, was going to be a big thing. And I'm talking like this is in, 2015. Okay. So I saw that content was going to be a big thing. So what I started doing, right, at that time was like, I started, I took my phone, right, my, my iPhone at the time, and I would go and film content. And specifically, I was going and filming content for like, for like boot camp companies and fitness companies and stuff like that. Okay. And like niche gyms and stuff like that, right? So I was going and filming content for them and putting together videos, and like I taught myself how to edit and things like that as well. And everybody used to say, yeah, the video is great, yeah, it's really cool, but like I need help getting customers, right? And I was like, okay, yeah, cool, I get that, right? So I somebody then said to me, hey Chris, have you ever done Facebook advertising, right? And so I'm a little bit like Richard Branson's got that philosophy, right, where he says, always say yes at first and then figure out how to do it afterwards.
That's
Okay.
right.
So yeah. So I took that on, and I said to her, yeah, of course I know how to do Facebook ads. No problem. I know all about that, right? So she's like, good. I'm going to pay you some money. Can you do some Facebook ads for me? And I was like, yeah, sure. At the time I was like, I
I
didn't know
love
anything
it.
about it, right?
Love
I
it.
didn't know anything about it. So I just, man, watched tons of YouTube videos and like just research and stuff on how to do it. And I kind of half taught myself how to do it. And man, like when we started running the ads for her, and again, this is like 2016, something like that. The amount of like sales inquiries and leads that she started getting, like just, it just literally blew up. And
Wow.
especially in combination with the videos and stuff that I was making as well, it was just like, it went crazy. So like the penny dropped, right? People need help getting customers. That is like probably the number one concern, even with my business, right? And I'm sure with yours, people
Yep.
need help getting customers, right? And if you can provide a solution for that person getting customers, then if you, as long as you provide a good service, you could
Right.
possibly have a customer for life.
That's
So
right.
when I started doing that, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting so many people signing up, and like all these people, coming out of nowhere, getting all these messages on Facebook. I'm getting all of these phone calls and stuff like that." I was like, right, I'm onto something. So I started working, I started rolling that out as a service to, to more gym owners. As I said, I bought that Dan Henry course, right? That kind of like, put down like the foundations of how to do it properly, because everything else I was just winging. Yeah. All right. So I bought that Dan Henry course, and one day one of the clients, and this is just pure like serendipity, right? If you believe in that kind of thing, okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or God's purpose for you, okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of my clients said to me, "Hey, um, I've got this friend who does aesthetics, right? And she really needs help getting customers. Do you know what aesthetics is?" So guess what I did, David?
Of course I do.
I know all about aesthetics, right? I know all about aesthetics, right? I took the
Yeah.
Richard Branson approach again, right? Never heard of aesthetics, didn't know anything about it at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I've got no shame in admitting that, okay?
Oh, sorry. Could you break down for our U.S. audience the equivalent of, because in the U.K. you guys call it aesthetic?
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. My bad, my bad. And we have clients and family over in the US as well. So what I mean by aesthetics are med spas, okay? So
Yeah.
med spas and wellness centers. So over here in the UK, we call them aesthetics clinics, and over in the US, you guys call them med spas and wellness centers. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
So it's basically, it's a business that's doctor led, that delivers like high end treatments to customers. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, I was like, yeah, of course I know what med spas are, right? So I spoke to this client, and who's running like already a very successful business, right, med spa at the time. And I said to her, so we started running ads for her, and as soon as we started running ads for her, it went bananas, right? And it was like, I don't think at the time, I'll keep it real. I think I was probably one of the first people in the world to actually do ads for med spas. If you go on Facebook and Instagram now, it's everywhere, right? But I'm gonna take some credit, right? I'm gonna give myself some props here. I was the genesis of that, right?
Respect. Respect.
so,
Respect.
so I was the genesis of that, right? And to date, we've worked with over 500 med spas around the world. Okay, so that's testament to that. But so yeah, like we started running ads for her, and it went crazy. And I never saw results like that. And then when she started telling me about the sales and stuff that she was making from it, like the actual money, I was blown away, man. I was like, oh my god, people are spending like $2,000 on this thing, like that's crazy. So from there, right, what I did is, and I'm pretty good. I would say another quality I have, another gift I have is definitely research, right? So it's like researching things, right? And kind of like going down rabbit holes and like, kind of like, picking things apart. So what I decided to do, yeah, is I looked at the device or the machine that she was using as part of her treatments,
Mm-hmm.
and I said to myself, all right, let me see if I can find other med spas that use this exact same device.
Wow.
So what I
Smart.
did is yeah, exactly. So I started researching all of these places that were using this same device, right? And these are medical grade devices. Yeah, they're very, very expensive. They cost like $50,000 and upwards. Okay, and I started calling these places, and I was like, listen, I can help you get clients. I'm working with this med spa over here. They're getting tons of clients. Let me help you do the same thing. And man, it was crazy. Like I think I called 10 companies, and I got 4 people sign up then and there on the spot, right? Because the biggest challenge that these med spas have is that they've invested so much in like learning how to do these treatments and these devices and things like that. But like getting an ROI, a return on on that investment is like really, really challenging for them. Yeah. Sometimes
Yeah.
it might take them, sometimes, if a device costs $50,000, it might take them 5 years to get a return on that device. So the clinics that we work with,
Right.
and the med spas that we work with now, right? Most of the med spas we work with now, we help them to do like $20,000 a month with just one device, you know.
Wow.
So yeah, so we really give them like a really rapid transformation in terms of them being able to get a return on the device, and then actually making profit on their investments. So
Yeah.
that's kind of been the journey, right? And obviously there's been peaks and troughs and everything like that along the way. But I decided, man, that after that first client, I knew that I was onto something, and I said to myself, do you know what? I don't want to be a generalist. Let me be a specialist, and I'm going to go all in, and I'm going to learn absolutely everything that I can learn about aesthetics. And like,
Wow.
aesthetics and med spa businesses. And like, honestly, to this day, I don't think there's many other people out there who aren't actually a practitioner or a doctor, right? Who knows more about how to run a successful med spa or clinic than myself. So
Wow. I mean, can you speak on to the point where you're regularly booked to speak for large associations and large events in this space? Can you speak to that? Like I don't think people really understand that. So two things. Can you speak to that? Right, the demand that that the market has for you to speak, and two, the fact of what you said, generalist versus specialist, because a lot of speaking to the agency owners that might be listening to this, they think, oh, I'm losing so much money by going after, like there's so much money if I get everything, as opposed to just narrowing down on this med spa aesthetics niche or something of that nature. So,
yeah. Okay. So I'll speak on the speaking engagements first. Okay. So I'm really blessed to have conferences and even private businesses call me in to come and speak at various different events. Whether I'm speaking in front of a couple of hundred people, or whether I'm speaking in front of like a small private conference held by a private company, right? So I get probably one speaking engagement a month, which is like absolutely amazing, and I'm really glad for all the partners and the businesses with that entrust me to speak to their audiences. So I have to say, I think speaking in front of an audience is, and I get nervous every time. Like I'm not going to front, yeah. Like even if it is, 10 people in a room, or a couple hundred people, I get nervous every time, right? But it is such a powerful way to get in front of your desired target audience, okay? And just sharing your knowledge with them, right? So whenever I speak at a conference or an event, I always like to think of like my talks as if like I'm taking that person on a journey, right? And it's, getting from point A, which is, how do I solve this big problem, to getting to point, B, which is, here is a solution to the challenge that you may be facing. Okay. And um, that speaks into being an expert. Okay. And there is a lot of agency owners out there who think that going wide is basically, that's the way to be. It's like, I work with gyms, and I work with e-commerce companies, and I work with med spas, for example, chiropractors and all the rest of that stuff. Okay, right? And from a financial point of view, you may think that makes sense, right? But here's the challenge: when you speak to these business owners can very, very quickly suss out that you're actually not speaking the same language as them. Whenever I go to speak to a med spa owner, they immediately know this guy's an expert. He knows what the hell he's talking about. Okay.
mm-hmm.
Because I am like, rather than going wide and shallow, right? I'm going, narrow and deep, right? I'm an absolute expert at this niche. So whenever I go to speak in front of an audience, right? Or whenever I go to, when I go to speak to in front of an audience, or whether I'm speaking to a potential client, whatever the case may be, they can tell immediately by the language that I use, by my tonality, by understanding what they're saying to me and the challenges that they have, right? That I can provide a solution for them. And that is really what stands me out from anyone else in the market, is that I'm an absolute expert, right? And my language, the way that I talk on a daily basis, is from the medical professionals' perspective, or the clinic owner's perspective, right? I talk their language, and because I talk their language, right, what that does is that builds that rapport with that person, right? That builds that relationship, and it builds
Yeah.
that trust. So because I'm building that trust with them, yeah,
Yeah.
when it comes to then saying to them, this is the program that we offer, this is how it works, etc., right? There's no doubt in their minds that I can help them to get the result that they desire, right? Yeah. There might be questions about how they're going to pay for our services, okay, which is pretty standard, right? But there's absolutely
Yeah.
no doubt in their mind that I am an absolute expert within this area, if that makes
Right.
sense, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the way that I view things, right? Is that when you go all in on one niche, right, you're able to speak the language that business owner speaks, and you're able to have a better and clearer insight into helping them to overcome their problems and their challenges than you would be if you were more of a generalist and you're just selling like
Man,
a general service.
that's gold, bro. And it goes back into your gift, right? Your gift of communication, and you've leveraged your gift of communication to go into speaking as well, and that speaking gift has brought you um, a lot of opportunities. But you've been able to become an even better speaker to this market because you've studied the craft and you know the niche, you know the language. To use your language, you know how to mirror, right? Back to the mirroring, back to everything that you've talked about, listening and speaking. Like all of this combines, and it's like created this beautiful harmony between, like you said, it was serendipity when and divine when you got into this niche. So you seized the opportunity. Some people don't. Some people. One of my mentees would say we don't take enough time to listen to the lyrics, meaning things that flow or happen in our life, and you took the time, whether consciously or unconsciously at that time, um, and got into this flow. Okay, hey, I'm going to become all in on this aesthetic space. And you did that. You combine your gift, and that's why you're dominating, man. You're leveraging your gift at the highest level, and you continue to invest in yourself, continue to grow. So I think it's phenomenal, and I just really don't want to. I don't want listeners to miss the point of the power of going deep and the power of leveraging your gift and the power of because this whole show is based off of three words: discovering your gift, developing your gift, and distributing your gift. There's a lot of people that discover what their talent is, like you have in communication. There's a lot of people that develop, and they develop to a certain degree. Yeah, I'll invest in myself a little bit. But they won't pour into themselves like you did. And then the last phase, which we're kind of talking about now, is the distribution part, man. The marketing, right? You could be the greatest aesthetic clinic, right? You could be the best equipment and all this stuff, but if you don't have a way to consistently market yourself, doesn't matter how great you are, nobody's going to come work with you. So, could you speak to that, right? Because I know that med spas here and aesthetic clinics there in the UK and all around the world, they might get infatuated with the equipment. Oh man, I got the latest thing. We got this, we got this, and they got nobody coming in the door. So which is where your agency comes in. So could you speak to the importance of just marketing and consistently marketing and positioning yourself out there?
Yeah, I'm going to use this analogy. I think you're going to like this one. Okay, so for any service-based business, whether you are a marketing agency, a med spa, a chiropractor, a plumber, an electrician, mechanic, whatever the case may be, right? For any service-based business, the lifeblood of that business comes down to the volume of sales inquiries that business receives on a weekly basis. Okay.
Mm,
So whenever I go to speak to a med spa owner or any other service-based business, right, one of the first questions I ask them is, on a weekly basis, on average, how many inquiries do you get from new customers?
mm,
And based on that answer, I can tell very, very quickly how successful that business is going to be this week, next week, and the week after, right? Based on how many inquiries they're receiving this week. I say
mm,
that sales inquiries are the lifeblood of a service-based business. Okay.
mm. Good.
And I describe it like this. Yeah. So let's just say, for example, I had a friend of mine who was in hospital, and I went to go and visit him, and he was hooked up to a heart monitor, right?
Yeah.
The way that I can tell that he has a pulse is if I look on the screen of the heart monitor and I can see the ECG. They call it ECG, right? So they see ECG going up and down, going beep, 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 right?
Right.
So that's a sign and indication to me that that he has a pulse. He's alive, right? Okay.
Right.
So when I speak to any service-based business owner, right, and I say to them how many sales inquiries are you receiving on a weekly basis, if that business turns around and says to me, on a weekly basis we're receiving, 20, 30 inquiries a week, that's a sign to me that that business has like a really, really strong pulse, because ultimately they have customers that they have prospects or leads that they can convert this week, next week, the week after, and the week after that.
Hmm.
Conversely, if I speak with another service-based business owner and they say to me, Kris, I'm receiving 5 inquiries a week or less than that, what do you think the heart monitor is doing at that point, David?
It's very small. Like,
It's
that's right.
flatlining, right? It's flatlining, right? Because ultimately, there's not enough throughput of inquiries to convert into
Mm.
paying customers. That is why marketing, whether you're using webinars and paid ads, or you're going to conferences or whatever the case is, that is why marketing is so important, because
Mm.
you need to be in front of your desired target audience as often as possible,
Mm.
and you need to be consistently driving new inquiries into the business.
Wow.
And I think that that's what a lot of people miss, right? And they don't understand that, like, you are not going to have like a good sales month if you're generating, a handful of inquiries every single week. You need to be generating a decent volume of inquiries every single week that will give you
Yeah.
the opportunity to convert those inquiries into bookings, customers, clients, whatever the case may be. Patients, that's the term that they use for med spas, okay? Yeah.
Right.
And that is the difference that makes a difference. It's the volume of
Wow.
inquiries that you receive, and that's why marketing is so important.
Dude, I've never heard that analogy broken down like that. It's such a visual, man. You need to put that into your book, your next book, something you do. Like, that's so powerful. Like you said, the lifeline of literally of the business, and that, how many businesses need the, what do you call it, the resuscitation, because they're dying, or,
That's
because of a
right.
lack. You know what I mean? Like that'd be a dope ad, man, for your business. Like I could see, like, you as the doctor, and then you know what I mean, with the line. But no,
I'm
that's such
stealing
a,
that. I'm stealing
yeah,
that.
do it. Hey, it's your idea, brother. Your idea, man. So I think what you're doing and helping people in this space is so powerful, man, and it's such a model example. Um, and a question that we always ask on the show, man. So, one, how can people get plugged in? We say we have some med spa businesses that are listening to this. Aesthetic, maybe we do got a UK audience. So people in the UK listening to this. How can and maybe people that want to book you to speak, maybe people that want to just get your consulting advice, agencies that want to learn, like, hey, I'd like to build an agency in this space, or I'd like to build an agency, I want to learn from you. How can they get in touch with you and get plugged in with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. So, you can go onto Instagram. Easiest way to connect with me is go to kristrinity.com. I'll spell that out for you because my Chris is spelled in a different way. It's Kris Trinity, Trinty, live, Live. Okay. So that's me on Instagram. Go ahead and hit me up on there, man. Give me a follow. Let me know you've listened to the show. I'll shout you back. And if you need any help or anything like that, if you are an agency owner, send me a message. I'll be more than happy to, happy to hook up with you and speak with you. Alternatively, if you want to visit my website, it's aestheticsmarketinginstitute.com. It's quite a wordy one, all right, and it may require some spelling, a couple of spelling mistakes. But if you go on Google, type it in, it's there, right? aestheticsmarketinginstitute.com. We're there to serve, specifically med spas and aesthetic clinics all over the world. If you need new customers, hit me up, let me know, and I'll hook you up with a game plan. Okay, and can have a free consultation session as well.
Beautiful, man. We're gonna plug those links in the show notes, and make sure people can access that. One question we always ask before we let you go, Kris, is, and you weren't prepped on this, you weren't given any clue they were going to ask you this question. The question is, Kris, what's the difference between one's gift and one's purpose? One's gift and one's purpose.
So I think that this answer, depending on your kind of your religious beliefs, right, or your philosophical beliefs, I believe that they're probably one and the same. So I feel like my gift is to communicate with people and to motivate and inspire people to run successful businesses, to provide for their families, right? And I believe that that gift feeds into my purpose, right? So my purpose is to help people to provide for their families, and to to really live the lives that they would like to live, right? And that's other business owners. So I feel like they can be one and the same, right? My gift feeds into my purpose. So I believe that they are they are synonymous with each other. I don't believe that they're separate things. Maybe that's not the answer you're looking for, but that's my answer, dude.
That's beautiful. I love it, man. We always want people's perspectives to open up, and that's powerful. The one and the same, because it leads one to another, man. That's beautiful stuff,
Yeah.
bro. Fire. Thank you so much, man. And any last words that you'd say to the people? That's something I didn't ask you. Something you want to share? You feel like you're
Yeah,
coming?
so first of all, I just want to thank you for giving me a platform to speak here. It's much appreciated. And I just want to say that, I hope this inspires and blesses someone, right? I'm somebody who literally, came from nothing, to now running a business which does, multiple six figures every year. We have an amazing team. We have, amazing clients all over the world. So I really hope that this blesses everyone and inspires them as well. That if I can do it, you can do it also. And I just want to thank you again, for creating a platform for me to share my gift. And I hope that other people listen to this and they're able to, not only identify what their gift is, but they're also able to leverage their gift in order to create really, really exciting businesses. So I just want to thank you for that, David. Much
No
appreciated.
doubt, brother. Appreciate you, fam. Thank you so much for the wisdom.